Water was never meant to feel like an enemy. In the islands of Japan, it fell from the sky in gentle seasons, carved valleys and fed rice fields, cleansed bodies before prayer and the dead before burial. Yet within certain rooms, behind sliding doors reinforced with iron and silence, water was taught a different purpose. It became weight, it became pressure, it became time itself pressing down on the lungs. Mizuzeme was not one act but a system, a family of methods bound together by breath and fear. It appeared in scattered records and whispered recollections from the late Sengoku period into the long shadow of Tokugawa rule. Magistrates, temple officials, and domain authorities all understood its logic. Water left few marks, it spilled away. It carried no blade and raised no bruise that could not be explained as weakness or fate. In these chambers, the walls were close, and the floors sloped gently toward hidden drains. The smell was always damp wood and old straw. Light arrived thinly, filtered through paper screens already warped by years of moisture. The prisoner was brought in stripped of armor, stripped of status, stripped even of dry skin. Whatever name he once carried was no longer needed here. The first method was the most deceptively simple. Forced drinking, known in later retellings as the water cure. The body was seated upright, sometimes bound to a low frame, sometimes held by assistants whose hands had learned where to press without leaving visible damage. Water was poured steadily, bowl after bowl, ladle after ladle, down a throat that could not refuse. The stomach expanded beyond its natural limits. The belly hardened, distended like a drum stretched too tight. Whispers spread that some victims felt their insides tearing, that water seeped into places it was never meant to reach. Yet many believed these tales were exaggeration, born of horror rather than observation. What cannot be disputed is the agony of fullness, the reflex to vomit denied by posture and grip, the way breath shortened as the diaphragm rose under unbearable pressure. The body was not drowning, yet it behaved as if it were. Panic arrived all the same. When water spilled back from the mouth and nose, the assistants did not always stop. According to later reports from temple servants, pauses were deliberate. The interrogator observed how long the body took to recover, how quickly fear returned to the eyes. In the quiet between pores, the room listened to the sound of liquid shifting inside a living man. In other chambers, another variation waited. Large wooden tubs, originally meant for washing or dyeing cloth, were repurposed. Their rims were worn smooth by years of hands gripping in fear. Here the prisoner was bent forward, wrists tied, head guided down until the surface broke. Immersion was sudden and complete. Cold water rushed into ears and nose, erased direction, stole the sense of up and down. It was said in some provincial courts that a man submerged once never truly left the water again, that even on dry ground, his dreams returned him to the tub. Modern scholars view such claims as rumor, not evidence. But the physical truth remains that the body, shocked and deprived of air, learned something it could not unlearn. Muscles thrashed against restraint. Time fractured into flashes of burning chest and ringing skull. The assistant's role here was precise. Too long, and death arrived without confession. Too short, and the lesson faded. The prisoner was raised just enough to cough and gasp, water streaming from hair and beard, before being lowered again. Each return was worse than the last, because anticipation replaced surprise. Breath was lost before the water even closed overhead. In Edo and Osaka, stories circulated among low officials of men who counted the immersions, marking them like days. Others claimed the mind broke before the body, that some prisoners confessed to crimes no one had named simply to end the cycle. These accounts conflict and cannot all be true. What is certain is that the method required no wounds, no blood, only repetition and control. The third form of Mizuzeme was the most subtle and, to many, the most terrifying. The prisoner was laid back or bound at an angle, cloth placed over the face, sometimes thin, sometimes layered. Water was poured slowly, steadily, transforming fabric into a barrier. Each breath drew liquid inward. The sensation was immediate suffocation. The lungs believed they were filling, though the body was not submerged at all. According to palace gossip preserved in later diaries, this method was favored for its efficiency. Historians agree such preferences are difficult to prove. Yet the design speaks for itself. Panic arrived instantly. The chest convulsed. The body fought an invisible sea. When water stopped, relief was brief and incomplete, because the memory of drowning lingered on the tongue and in the throat. In Kyoto, where courtly refinement masked quieter brutalities, it was rumored that this method left victims begging without a single mark upon them. Some modern writers dismiss these accounts as dramatization. What cannot be dismissed is the physiological truth of the reflex, the way the brain overrides dignity when air is threatened. Across these methods, a pattern emerged. Mizuzeme was not about pain alone. It was about the betrayal of something familiar. Water, the source of life, the symbol of purity, became the instrument of control. In a culture where bathing was ritual and rivers were sacred, this inversion carried additional weight. The interrogator understood this without needing to name it. His posture remained calm, his voice low, his movements measured. Authority did not need to shout in these rooms. The prisoner's body did the speaking through tremor and breath. One record from a rural domain mentions a man who endured all three forms across several days. Some claimed he survived and returned to his village silent and thin as a ghost. Others insisted he died quietly in the night. His body returned to water one final time. The truth is lost, layered beneath retelling and fear. What remains are the spaces themselves. The tubs, the ropes, the ladles, the cloths folded and unfolded. The way water pooled on stone floors and disappeared into drains, leaving no trace by morning. Servants cleaned without comment. Guards avoided looking too long at the corners where breath had once been taken away. Mizuzeme did not require spectacle. It did not need crowds or scaffolds. Its power lay in intimacy, in the closeness between hand and face, between water and lung. It thrived in quiet, in rooms where only a few bore witness and fewer still spoke afterward. In later generations, as laws shifted and methods were reformed or renamed, Mizuzeme slipped into the margins. Some dismissed it as exaggerated cruelty of a harsher age. Others preserved it as warning. Yet even in denial, its outline remains clear. Water still falls, it still fills. It still waits patiently for breath to fail. And if a body remembers drowning without ever entering the sea, does it ever truly return to dry land?